Shabbos from Mali Ephraim in the Jordan Valley. I want to share a couple of teachings today from the Kedushas Levi and from Rav Dr. Pinson on this week's Pasha shelach. The Pasha shelach is all about Moses responding to a request from the Israelites to send spies to the land to scout it out. They're actually called, most people call them spies, but they really were scouts. Their job wasn't to spy on the land, their job really was to see the land, to scout out the land. When so 12 scouts were sent out, one from each tribe, although the tribe of Levi wasn't included in that. And these were chieftains from each of the tribes. And when they returned, 10 out of the 12 spies reported that we would not be able to conquer the land. We would not be able to go into the land because it was too mighty, and we would not be able to conquer the land. 2, Caleb and Yeshua disagreed. They knew that they had faith in Hashem, and they knew that the land was a good land, because the report back from all the scouts was that the land was a beautiful land filled with fruits and honey, and they brought back fruits that were enormous, that showed how wonderful the land was. And Yeshua and Caleb knew that we could conquer the land if Hashem wanted us to. And it was clear that was Hashem's intention, but the 10 spies did not see it that way. They were afraid, and there's very many different reasons for why they gave a negative report, including that they found the life in the desert, in the Midbar, as being a very holy life for them. They didn't want to give up that life to go into the land of Israel, where they would actually have to farm the land, and they would face other obstacles. So that's one of the reasons why they gave a bad report. But the Kedushas Levi also explains, and this is based on when Moses pleaded with Hashem not to destroy all the Jewish people, he used the attributes of compassion that Hashem had shared with him when Moses pleaded for the people after the sin of the golden calf. And the attributes of compassion starts with Hashem, El Rachum V'Chanun Erech Apayim. So it says Hashem, the compassion and grace, slow to anger. So that's how the 13 attributes of compassion started. But when Moses went to Hashem and pleaded for the Jewish people, he started with God is slow to anger. He did not mention that God is compassionate and that God shows grace to Jewish people. And the Kedushas Levi explains that God's attribute of compassion is based on his empathy with the lower world, with our world, similar to how a wealthy person, in showing compassion on a poor person, must first empathize with the poor person's plight in order to then show him compassion. The same applies, if we're with God's attribute of compassion. Hashem needs to know that we believe that he has compassion in order to draw down compassion from Hashem. And the same goes with graciousness, that the Jewish people need to know that Hashem treats us with grace in order to draw down Hashem's attribute of grace. So the sin of the spies reflected a lack of belief in the attribute of compassion. The 10 spies did not believe that God empathizes with the plight of the Jewish people. They also expressed a disbelief in his attribute of graciousness, since their actions were prompted by their disbelief that we find favor in the eyes of God. And for this reason, in this verse, Moses did not try to evoke either the divine trait of compassion or the divine trait of graciousness. And that's why he started with the attribute of slow to anger. What's really important about this is that what the spies really lacked was faith, was faith and trust in Hashem, Emunah and Bitachon. They they looked at the land of Israel and they saw in essence what they wanted to see. They had sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They didn't necessarily want to go into the land of Israel because they actually thought the land where living in the desert where they had all their needs met and they had the ability to study Torah all the time without any real challenges was a better life than going into the land of Israel where they would actually have to fight to go into the land, and then they would actually have to farm the land in order to survive. So one of the reasons that the sages say that the spies gave a bad report was because they really didn't want to go into the land. And this was represented by the lack of faith in terms of Hashem, in terms of Hashem's compassion for the people as well as his graciousness. The other teaching I want to share was from Rav Dr. Pinson on this Pasha. And Rav Pinson explains that there's, when we have decisions that we have to make, difficult decisions to make, so the Meraglim, the scouts needed to decide whether or not the land was good and whether they should go into the land. Personally, I had to decide whether I should make Aliyah. I had to make a decision whether I should move to Sfad or to Jerusalem or to Mali Ephraim. So when we're faced with decisions, the question is, how do we know what the right decision is? Oftentimes when we're faced with a decision, we have to, some decisions we know in our heart and our soul it's the right decision to do. So when I decided to move to Mali Ephraim with my wife, when we saw the house that we're living in, we knew it was the right thing. Obstacles came up in terms of buying the house, but we were able to overcome them because we knew it was the right thing. Then there's other questions and other decisions that come up where we're not necessarily 100% sure. We don't know for certain whether or not we should be making that decision or not. And in those situations, sometimes when obstacles come in our way, they come in our way because Hashem is really telling us that we shouldn't make that decision. So it's an important distinction to know when we really want to do something and when we're sometimes not so sure. When we're not so sure about something, what Rabbi Pinson also teaches, which is very, very deep, is that we need to not overanalyze, not look at all the details of it. So in other words, when the Israelites were going to go into the land, the spies, instead of seeing the big picture that the land was beautiful and Hashem promised it to us, and therefore we should be able to go into the land, they started to look at all the little things. They saw giants. They saw that they said that the giants were burying people. And they were able to find all different reasons for not going forward with it. So the teaching really is that there are times, particularly when we're not 100% sure of what we should be doing, that we need to just see the big picture and not worry about the details. And this is a very important life lesson. For many years I had really trouble making decisions, and I finally realized it was because I was afraid of making a wrong decision. So I would, in government parlor, as an expression, paralysis by analysis. That if you keep trying to go deeper and deeper into the question, all different things can come up that are not necessarily valid, right? But just by analyzing it so deeply, we find reasons not to do something. And that's not what Hashem wants us to do. Hashem wants us to look at things and then have faith that if this is the right decision, then everything that we need to happen will happen. So may we be blessed this Shabbos to know when we're supposed to be making certain decisions, and when we're not so sure about that, we need to really look at the big picture of things and not overanalyze, and to have faith in Hashem that if it's the right decision, everything that we need to do to make that work will happen. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.